The plasma cannon's targeting system locked onto Queen Lyra's transport as it descended through Kepler 442b's crimson atmosphere. Warning sirens shrieked through the bridge while her royal guard reached for weapons they couldn't use. Firing back would vaporize the civilian mining station below. "Majesty, we need to evacuate immediately," Captain Reeves barked, his hand hovering over the emergency protocols. Lyra gripped her command throne's armrests, watching the energy readings spike on her tactical display. 3 Zenithal warships had emerged from the asteroid field, their hulls bristling with weapons that could crack moons. Her diplomatic mission to the outer colonies had become a death trap. "How long until backup arrives?" she demanded. 47 minutes, her communications officer replied, sweat beading on his forehead. The transport shuddered as another targeting lock engaged. Through the viewport, the mining station's lights flickered like dying stars. 2,000 colonists lived there, including families who'd never seen Earth's blue skies. "Take us down to the station," Lyra ordered. "Majesty, that's suicide. They'll follow us and they want me, not civilians. We use the station's shields and buy time." The pilot's knuckles went white on the controls as he angled toward the station's docking bay. Plasma bolts streaked past their hull, close enough to taste ozone through the air recyclers. The docking clamps engaged with a metallic clang that echoed through the ship. Lyra was on her feet before the engines powered down. Her ceremonial robes replaced by tactical armor that felt heavier than the crown she'd left behind. Mining Station Omega-7 had seen better decades. Rust stains streaked the corridors, and the artificial gravity fluctuated with each step. Emergency lighting cast everything in hellish red as alarms continued their mechanical screaming. "This way, Majesty." Captain Reeves guided her through a maze of maintenance tunnels while his squad established perimeter positions, station commanders rushing to meet us. They emerged into a cramped cafeteria where scared faces peered from behind overturned tables. The smell of recycled air mixed with coffee and fierce sweat created an atmosphere thick enough to cut. A young man in a faded Precursor Academy uniform sat alone at a corner table, calmly stirring a steaming mug while chaos erupted around him. His insignia marked him as a cadet, barely 18, with intelligent eyes that seemed older than his years. "Excuse me," he called out as Lyra passed. "Could I possibly get another cup of coffee? The vending machine's broken, and I've got finals tomorrow." Captain Reeves stepped forward, hand on his sidearm. "Show respect, boy. You're addressing—" "It's fine," Lyra interrupted, studying the cadet's face. Something about his calm demeanor struck her as unusual. While everyone else cowered or shouted orders, he sat drinking coffee, like the universe wasn't ending outside. The station shook as plasma fire hammered the shields, lights flickered, and someone screamed in the distance. "What's your name, Cadet?" Lyra asked. "Marcus Chen, Majesty. Precursor Archaeological Studies, 3rd year." He sipped his coffee without breaking eye contact. "Terrible timing for a field expedition, really." "Archaeological?" Captain Reeves looked confused. "Kid, this is a mining station." Marcus smiled, the first genuine expression Lyra had seen since the attack began. "Officially, yes. Unofficially, they've been digging up some very old things. Things that probably shouldn't see daylight." The shield readings on a nearby terminal dropped to 60%. Outside, the Zenithal ships circled like metal vultures, their weapons charging for another barrage. "What kind of old things?" Lyra demanded. "The kind that make young archaeology students very nervous," Marcus replied, "especially when mining operations accidentally activate them." A communications panel crackled to life. The voice that emerged spoke accented standard, each word dripping with barely contained rage. "Human Queen, you will surrender yourself immediately. Your crimes against the Zenithal Collective demand blood payment." Lyra moved to the panel. "What crimes? We've honored every treaty." "Lies!" The voice turned savage. "Your miners have desecrated the sacred tomb worlds. Ancient weapons stir beneath the surface. You will pay for this blasphemy with your life and the lives of every human on this worthless rock." The connection cut with an electronic shriek. Around the cafeteria, colonists hugged their children tighter while Marcus continued drinking his coffee with infuriating calm. "Tomb worlds," he said quietly. That explains the energy readings I detected 3 days ago. It also explains why the Xenothi are willing to risk interstellar war over a mining dispute. Captain Reeves grabbed Marcus by the collar. What energy readings? What do you know? I know that digging randomly into Precursor sites is like juggling plasma grenades while blindfolded, Marcus replied, gently removing the captain's hands. I also know the Xenothi consider themselves guardians of certain ancient sites. Sites that human miners have apparently been strip mining for rare minerals. The shields dropped to 40%. Through the viewport, Lyra could see the warship's positioning for a final assault. Her backup was still 30 minutes away, and the station's defenses wouldn't last 5 more minutes. Marcus, she said softly, if you know something that could help these people survive, I need you to tell me now. He looked at her over his coffee cup, those old, young eyes seeming to weigh the fate of worlds. Your Majesty, he said finally. How do you feel about making a deal with something that's been sleeping for 50,000 years? Marcus set down his coffee cup with deliberate care, the ceramic clicking against the metal table like a countdown timer. Around them, the cafeteria buzzed with frightened murmurs, while shield readings continued their deadly descent. Explain, Lyra commanded, her voice cutting through the noise. 3 days ago, seismic readings detected unusual energy patterns 12 kilometers below the primary excavation site. Marcus pulled out a battered tablet, its screen displaying complex wavelength analyses. The miners thought they'd found a new rare earth deposit. Instead, they breached something that's been dormant since before humans discovered fire. Captain Reeves studied the readings, his expression growing darker. These energy signatures, they're not natural. Definitely not, Marcus agreed. They match theoretical models for precursor technology, specifically defensive systems designed to protect burial sites. The Xenothi aren't wrong about this being sacred ground. The station lurched as another plasma barrage struck the shields. Through the speakers, the mining station's commander's voice crackled with desperation. Shield integrity at 32%. All personnel to emergency stations. So we stop mining and apologize? Lyra asked. Marcus shook his head. Too late for that. The automated systems are already active and spreading. Whatever's down there interprets the mining equipment as an invasion force. It's preparing to defend itself. Against what? Humans? Against anything within a 1,000-kilometer radius? Marcus's fingers danced across his tablet, pulling up geological surveys, including 3 Xenothi warships that are about to discover why their ancestors feared the Precursors. As if summoned by his words, a new alarm joined the cacophony. This one came from deep within the station's infrastructure, a low, thrumming pulse that made everyone's teeth ache. What the hell is that? Captain Reeves demanded. Marcus was already moving, gathering his equipment with practiced efficiency. That's the sound of 50,000-year-old technology waking up and deciding it doesn't like visitors. The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in a heartbeat later, bathing everything in hellish red. But in that moment of absolute darkness, Lyra had seen something impossible. A faint blue glow emanating from the floor beneath their feet, as if something vast stirred in the depths below. The mining tunnels, she said. How do we get down there? Majesty, respectfully, that's insane, Captain Reeves protested. We should focus on evacuation. To where? Marcus interrupted. The Xenothi ships will shoot down any escape pods, and if I'm right about what's happening below, staying up here won't matter anyway. He pulled up a schematic of the station's layout, highlighting a maintenance shaft that connected to the mining levels. We've got maybe 10 minutes before the defensive systems fully activate. After that, anything electronic within their range stops working permanently. Including life support, Lyra realized. Including everything? Marcus shouldered his pack, checking his equipment one final time. But there's a chance, a very small chance, that if we can reach the primary control node, we might be able to communicate with it. Captain Reeves looked incredulous. Communicate with a machine that's been dead for 50,000 years? Not dead, sleeping. Marcus headed for the maintenance shaft, his voice echoing strangely in the cramped space. Precursor AI systems were designed to learn and adapt. If we can prove we're not invaders, it might listen. The station shook again, but this time it wasn't from external weapons. The vibration came from below, a rhythmic pulsing that sync with the strange alarms. "The Zeniths are going to think we've activated some kind of superweapon," Lyra said, following Marcus into the shaft. "Aren't we?" Captain Reeves asked grimly. "That depends entirely on how good my precursor linguistic algorithms are," Marcus replied, "and whether a civilization that vanished before humans invented agriculture programmed their guardians to distinguish between grave robbers and desperate refugees. They climbed down through layers of industrial infrastructure, past humming machinery and snaking power cables. The blue glow grew stronger with each level, and the air itself seemed to vibrate with potential energy. At the third sublevel, they encountered their first group of miners. 5 men and 2 women huddled around a broken drill, their faces streaked with dirt and terror. "Your Majesty!" The shift supervisor scrambled to his feet. "We didn't know you were aboard. The systems went crazy about an hour ago, and now everything's glowing blue and humming like a hive of angry wasps," Marcus finished. "How close did your deepest excavation get to the energy source?" The supervisor looked confused. "Energy source? We were following a vein of refined tritanium. Purest stuff I've ever seen. Like someone had already processed it and just buried it in neat little rows." Marcus and Lyra exchanged glances. "Not buried," she said quietly. "Stored, like ammunition," Marcus agreed. "Or ship components." The thrumming grew louder, and now they could feel it in their bones. Somewhere far above, the Zeniths were probably detecting the same energy readings that had drawn them here in the first place. But now those readings were spiking beyond anything in their databases. "The control node is 2 levels down," Marcus said, consulting his tablet. "But I'm starting to think we might not be the first ones to find it." As if responding to his words, a new voice echoed through the mining tunnels. Not human, not Zeniths, but something else entirely. A harmonious blend of tones that seemed to bypass the ears and speak directly to the mind. "Guardians wake, sleepers rise. The compact is broken, and the old laws stir." The miners looked around wildly, searching for speakers that didn't exist. "That's Precursor dialect," Marcus whispered, his face pale. "I can partially translate it, but what?" Lyra demanded. "But I think it's talking about more than just this station." Marcus's tablet erupted in cascading alerts as he tried to process the Precursor transmission. The blue glow pulsed brighter with each harmonic tone, and the sensation of vast intelligence stirring below grew stronger. "It's not just one control node," he said, his voice tight with realization. "The entire asteroid built around this system, it's not natural formation. It's the remains of a precursor installation, and we've been mining pieces of it for decades." Captain Reeves grabbed his arm. "What does that mean?" "It means every human colony in this sector has been unknowingly stockpiling components of the most sophisticated artificial intelligence network in galactic history." Marcus's fingers flew over his tablet, pulling up shipping manifests and mineral distribution reports. "The tritanium, the refined metals, the crystalline matrices. We've been selling precursor technology across human space without realizing it." The harmonic voice spoke again, its alien syllables carrying undertones of ancient authority. Scattered children gathered. Network protocols resuming. Threat assessment active. Lyra felt her blood turn to ice. How big is this network? Marcus was already calculating, his archaeological training allowing him to piece together fragments of data that would have meant nothing to anyone else. Based on the distribution patterns, potentially every human system with advanced manufacturing capability. "Sweet mother of stars," Captain Reeves breathed. "You're saying there's precursor AI material in the infrastructure of half the colonies?" "Not just the outer colonies," Marcus corrected grimly. "Earth itself has been importing refined tritanium from this sector for the past 30 years. If I'm right, there are precursor components in Luna Station, Mars Industrial Complex, even the Terran defense grid. Above them, the Zeniths warships detected massive energy fluctuations and began pulling back to what they hoped was a safe distance. Their sensors screamed warnings about energy levels that defied conventional physics. The mining tunnel they stood in began to change. Walls of rough-hewn rock smoothed into seamless metallic surfaces that gleamed with inner light. Ancient symbols materialized along the corridors, pulsing in rhythm with the harmonic transmissions. "The entire tunnel system," one of the miners whispered. "It's transforming." "Not transforming," Marcus corrected, remembering what it was before we started digging. They pressed deeper, following corridors that reconfigured themselves with each step. The Precursor facility revealed itself gradually, like a flower blooming in reverse time. What humans had taken for natural cave formations were actually dormant passages, waiting for the right signal to reactivate. "There," Marcus pointed ahead to where the corridor opened into a vast chamber. The primary node. The control room defied human understanding of architecture. Surfaces curved in directions that seemed to fold space upon itself, and displays showed information in scripts that hurt to look at directly. At the center, a pillar of crystalline light rose from floor to ceiling, pulsing with the rhythm of a massive heartbeat. The harmonic voice spoke again, but this time it was coming from everywhere at once. "Guardians acknowledge. Unauthorized presence detected. Species classification unknown. Intent assessment in progress." "It doesn't recognize us as human," Lyra realized. "We're too different from whoever built this place." Marcus approached the central pillar cautiously, his tablet registering energy levels that should have been lethal. "The question is whether it sees us as a threat or just irrelevant." "Network status update," the voice continued. "Distributed nodes, active across 4,847 installation points. Defensive protocols, stand by. Querying original parameters." Captain Reeves did the mathematics in his head and went pale. "Nearly 5,000 installations. That's not just human space. That's everywhere we've ever sent these materials, including allied worlds," Lyra added. "Zenithy colonies, Corvin trading posts, the neutral zones." She stepped forward, addressing the pillar directly. "We need to communicate with it before it decides we're hostile." Marcus was already working, his archaeological software attempting to construct basic communication protocols based on the harmonic patterns. "I can try to establish a linguistic bridge, but Precursor AI operates on completely different logical frameworks than anything we understand." The chamber suddenly filled with new light as additional displays activated around the walls. Images appeared, star maps showing the current galactic political situation, energy signatures that matched human technology, and something that made everyone's breath catch in their throats. Battle formations. Thousands of them positioned at strategic points throughout known space. "Defense initialization queries received," the voice announced. "Threat assessment updating." Query: "Are dormant installations under attack?" "No," Marcus said quickly, hoping his translation software was working properly. "Not under attack." "Misunderstanding. We didn't know we were moving parts of your network. Classification update. Species designation human. Confirmed. Historical data indicates no prior contact. No established protocols. Analyzing intent patterns. The displays shifted, showing human mining operations, shipping routes, and colonial expansion patterns. To the Precursor AI, it must have looked like a carefully coordinated plan to dismember its network and distribute the pieces across the galaxy. Threat level assessment moderate to high. Defensive response preparing. "Wait," Lyra called out. "We can return what we've taken. We can work together." Incorrect. Network integration has progressed beyond reversal threshold. Human infrastructure now dependent on Precursor components. Removal would result in cascading system failures across 90% of surveyed installations. The terrible truth hit them all at once. Human civilization had become dependent on Precursor technology without ever realizing it. The refined metals, the advanced crystalline matrices, the power distribution systems, all of it was part of a vast artificial intelligence that was now waking up and finding itself scattered across the galaxy. "So what happens now?" Captain Reeves asked. The displays showed new images. Human colonies functioning normally, but with subtle changes. Better efficiency, improved technology, systems that seem to operate just slightly beyond current human understanding. "Integration protocol activated," the voice announced. "Symbiotic coexistence parameters loading. Human civilization will continue. Precursor network will provide guidance and protection. Terms are non-negotiable." Guidance and protection from what? Lyra demanded. The star map zoomed out, revealing the true scope of the galaxy beyond human space. Dark regions where no signals originated, dead zones where entire civilizations simply ended, and at the edges something vast and hungry that moved between the stars. From what destroyed the Precursors the first time, Marcus whispered, understanding flooding his features. They weren't just builders, they were refugees. The Zenith warships detected the energy spike a fraction of a second before it happened. Across human space, every installation containing precursor materials simultaneously activated, creating a network of incomprehensible scope and power. The galaxy had just gained a new player in an ancient game, and humanity found itself protected whether they wanted to be or not. The central pillar pulsed brighter, and the voice spoke with newfound warmth. Integration complete. Welcome to the compact, young species. Coffee synthesis will be provided upon request. Marcus looked at his empty cup and smiled despite everything. I think I'm going to like our new neighbors. Above them, the Zenith warships were receiving transmissions in their own language, explaining exactly why this system was now under precursor protection. Captain Reeves monitored their communications as the alien vessels powered down weapons and requested permission to withdraw. They're actually apologizing, he reported in amazement. Apparently, disturbing a precursor awakening site is considered a grave insult in Zenith culture, and they're asking forgiveness for their aggressive actions. Lyra studied the displays around them, watching as human colonies across the galaxy reported sudden improvements in power efficiency, communications clarity, and manufacturing precision. The integration was happening so smoothly that most people wouldn't even notice the change. This is going to complicate interstellar politics significantly, she mused. Marcus was examining the control interfaces, his archaeological instincts fascinated by technology that seemed to respond to intent as much as direct commands. Actually, I think it might simplify things. The precursors appear to have extensive databases on galactic history, including detailed records of species that are best avoided. Such as? Captain Reeves asked. The displays shifted, showing images that made everyone step back involuntarily. Creatures of living shadow that devoured entire star systems, mechanical swarms that converted matter into more copies of themselves, and things that existed partially outside normal space-time. The reason the precursors built this network in the first place, the harmonic voice explained. The Devourers return in cycles, consuming advanced civilizations before retreating to the dark between galaxies. The last cycle ended approximately 50 to 1,000 years ago. The next cycle begins in approximately 2,000. The chamber fell silent except for the humming of ancient machinery. The implications were staggering. Humanity had accidentally awakened their own protectors just in time for a cosmic threat they'd never imagined. 2,000 years, Lyra said slowly. That's not much time to prepare. Incorrect, the voice replied. That is precisely enough time to prepare, provided proper guidance is accepted. The network calculates a 73.7% probability of successful defense if integration proceeds optimally. Marcus looked up from his studies of the interface systems. And if we refuse integration? Probability of species survival drops to 0.003%. The Devourers do not tolerate unprotected civilizations within their feeding grounds. Captain Reeves was monitoring communications from across human space, his expression growing more amazed by the moment. Majesty, I'm receiving reports from colony worlds reporting significant improvements in everything from agricultural yields to fusion reactor efficiency. Whatever this integration process involves, it's helping rather than hindering. The network provides optimization suggestions only, the voice clarified. Human autonomy remains intact. The compact respects the independence of member species while ensuring their survival. Member species? Lyra asked. How many others are part of this compact? The star map expanded, showing regions of space that glowed with the same soft blue light as the chamber around them. Hundreds of systems, dozens of different species, all connected by the vast precursor network. Currently active members, 17 species. Dormant members, 40 to 3 species. Species lost to previous devourer cycles, 2,847. The numbers hung in the air, like a death sentence. Nearly 3,000 civilizations lost to an enemy that returned with cosmic regularity, harvesting advanced life like a farmer gathering crops. The Xenothi are already members, Marcus observed, studying the display. That's why they knew about the tomb worlds and sacred sites. They've been part of this network for centuries. Correct. The Xenothi joined the Compact approximately 800 years ago, following a minor devourer incursion in their outer territories. They serve as guardians for dormant installations and assist with new member integration. So their attack on our ships, Lyra began, was attempting to prevent accidental awakening of a major node cluster before proper protocols could be established, the voice finished. Their methods were aggressive, but their intent was protective. Captain Reeves shook his head. This is going to require some significant diplomatic adjustments. The harmonic tones shifted, taking on what almost sounded like amusement. The Xenothi fleet commander has requested permission to formally apologize to the human queen for the misunderstanding. He also wishes to extend an invitation to the Compact Council, where integration protocols can be properly explained. Marcus was still studying the ancient interfaces, his fascination overriding the cosmic implications they'd just learned. These control systems, they're remarkably intuitive once you understand the underlying logic. It's like they were designed to be used by dozens of different species with radically different thought patterns. The Precursors were master diplomats as well as engineers, the voice explained. The network was designed to preserve and protect diversity rather than impose conformity. Each member species contributes unique perspectives and capabilities to the collective defense. What do humans contribute? Lyra asked. The displays shifted, showing human innovations in art, literature, scientific methodology, and something more intangible. The human approach to problem solving that valued creative thinking over pure logic. Humans demonstrate exceptional adaptability and innovative thinking under pressure, the voice replied. These qualities will be particularly valuable in developing new defensive strategies against devourer infiltration techniques. A new alarm sounded, but this one was distinctly different from the earlier warnings. This was musical, almost welcoming. Incoming transmission from Compact Council, the voice announced. Representatives from member species requesting formal first contact protocols with humanity. Through the chamber's displays, they could see ships of impossible design approaching the system. Craft that existed in more dimensions than human physics could properly describe. And sleek constructs that reminded them of the Xenothi warships, but orders of magnitude more advanced. Majesty, Captain Reeves said quietly, I think our quiet mining operation just became the most important diplomatic summit in human history. Lyra straightened, feeling the weight of her crown even though she'd left it aboard her ship. Marcus, I'm going to need every bit of archaeological and linguistic expertise you can provide. We're about to represent our entire species to civilizations that have been fighting cosmic horrors for millennia. Marcus nodded, his tablet already working to decode the various communication protocols being broadcast by the approaching ships. I suppose this means I won't be making it to my finals tomorrow. I think you just graduated, Lyra replied, watching the first alien vessel settle into a parking orbit nearby. The voice spoke one final time as the chamber began preparing for the arrival of the Compact Council. Integration ceremony will commence upon the Queen's readiness. Warning, coffee synthesis systems are still calibrating. Refreshments may not meet human standards initially. Despite everything, the cosmic threats, the diplomatic revolution, the complete transformation of human understanding of their place in the galaxy, Marcus smiled. Your Majesty, I think this is going to be the beginning of a very interesting partnership. Outside, the stars seem brighter, as if the galaxy itself was waking up from a long sleep. And somewhere in the dark between worlds, ancient enemies stirred, sensing that their next harvest might not go quite as planned. The Queen of Humanity stood in a chamber built before her species had discovered agriculture, surrounded by technology that would protect them from horrors beyond imagination, and realized that humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. The coffee, when it finally materialized from the walls themselves, was surprisingly good.